Hello, TMG, Ben Kawa here, and we're talking today about the second video on mindset. And we've already talked about the external layer of mindset, the brain and brain health. And now in this video, I want to talk about two concepts, two layers. The first being that internal layer of mindset, the way you think, that self-talk that goes on, self-esteem. How do you feel about yourself? Do you accept yourself as you are? When mistakes are made, to what degree do you beat yourself up? What kind of thoughts are running around in your head? Are you generally a positive or a negative person? How do you respond to stress? And it's important to kind of try to peel back this internal layer of mindset. Sometimes there's cravings that are born out of ignoring certain levels. Let me give you an example. Cravings for sugar may have something to do with a craving for sweetness in your life, and to kind of peel back on that a little bit and see if that's appropriate. And there's many other examples, but the sugar one comes to mind. When it comes to mindset, we got to find that vitamin J again, and that J, of course, stands for joy. And what is your joy practice? And much like a yoga practice or any kind of self-help practice, a music practice, learning an instrument practice, being better in business practice, what is your joy practice? How do you seek joy? And what gives you joy? What truly gives you joy? And I challenge you, just like in terms of those items or things or experiences that give you joy, how much time do you spend on this? Because when there is joy in your life, it can't help but cascade into a more positive environment, and less stress can creep in. So concentrating on joy, and how is your joy practice? I want to talk about the concept of busyness, the disease of busyness. Being active, being engaged, being inspired, that's great. But I think many times in our culture today, that notion of how busy we are means how important or how successful we might be. And that busyness, without an active kind of taking inventory of it, may lead to stress. So maybe some steps on a less busy life is just really taking an inventory of what's occupying your life. What are you taking time? What's on your plate? What are you doing a lot of? Is it stuff that is really, truly needed, or do you enjoy? And there's ways of outsourcing various things, whether it be business or personal, on taking inventory and what's needed and what you can outsource. Being present amongst chaos when you're busy, and that there just seems all these dominoes are ahead. It's just that one bite at a time approach. That like, be present. It's not the future we're really truly thinking about. Be present in the current moment, and practice some good breathing that we've talked about, and tackle that issue and move on to the next one. You can't really foresee what's going to happen, but just tackle what's in front of you. And three is focus on what you do best and what you enjoy most. Now, they may be two separate items. What I do best may be a lot different than what I like to do, but it's interesting to me, maybe even for those of you that like to do a graph of, what I do best and what do I enjoy the most, is to perhaps put that on a graph and see if I'm spending a lot of time there. And again, this gets back from maybe a great business analogy here is outsourcing things that you know are needed, that you don't enjoy doing, but you partner up with someone else and you get on, and then some of that busyness is not spent on something that you don't enjoy doing or are not good at. Very simple. And the last point on busyness, just remember that you're a human being, not a human doing. You don't need to go all the time, and that rest is really good for you. Okay, rest is really good for you. Other items that you may think about in terms of that whole mindset, that internal layer, is just practicing some mindfulness, some meditation, your digital detoxing. Rather new phenomenon, this whole digital world we're living in, and studies have not been done on the repercussions and what's happened to people who are glued to their devices, but just taking an honest to goodness look at your digital use, etc. What are your boundaries? Have you established a lot of boundaries for yourself? and just mapping out schedules that will help keep things in perspective. We can talk about stress and health. There's a plethora of information on stress and health, but what are your causes of stress, and how and what can you do to avoid them. Let joy try to crowd out some of that stress mental shelf space. The more we can get joy in there, the more we can push that stress off the shelf and not think about it. A ton of research, and it behooves you to study what foods may do to stress: sugars, caffeine, sleeping, exercise, conscious eating habits. The old the speed in which you eat, and chewing, etc. This all may have ripple effects on stress, so you should be paying attention to it. The third layer of mindset I'd like to entertain and talk about is that symbolic layer. And in this layer, really the word is expansion. Okay, expansion, that personal growth, the new opportunities, leaning into fear, going for dreams. Basically, if we're not expanding, at best, we're standing still. At best, we're standing still. And in most cases, we're contracting. Okay, so that whole notion of how you handle, expansion. How open are you to trying new things? Are there fears holding you back? Are you seeking new opportunities? Are you resisting expansion for any reasons? Learning to be more open. There's some tips to be more open, and just one of them might be just the whole notion of curiosity, almost a childlike approach to things. But curiosity and helping uncover also helps negate some fear. The more you find out about a particular situation or event, the more curious you are about it, perhaps puts fear at ease. So being curious helps in being open. Challenging self-beliefs. This is a big one. You've been told, you are who you are, but maybe sometimes we act as you are who you think other people think you are. So really challenging who you are and your self-beliefs, their perceptions, etc. Poke at some of those beliefs. Do I really believe in them, or do I have these thoughts because my daddy did, my daddy's daddy did? So, or my mommy did, or my mommy's mommy did. So really poke at some of these beliefs. Transforming negativity. With every issue, there is whether there's a COVID. I mean, there are some positive aspects that have come out of COVID and the surge of Zoom. I mean, there are positive points to be found in many negative practices. I know it's hard sometimes, but look for the positive, excuse me, even in the negative circumstances. You may want to say yes to some situations that kind of push you or make you a little bit nervous, and that's okay, as long as it's not crossing a boundary. But how can you grow without pushing yourself to say yes to certain experiences that push you outside your comfort zone? When there's dead ends, there's also opportunities. You can go in a new direction. So what may be perceived at the moment, more in the loss, dust yourself off, etc. But there may be a new opportunity arising, and embrace the new opportunity. I've said this a number of times, but in terms, again, in terms of being more open, is journaling and how you feel about doing certain things, and just taking stock of your feelings by means of writing them down. It just helps cement how you feel about certain new practices or new directions you're about to go into. And practicing wellness and self-care. The wellness journey there's many elements to it, and there's no right one path, and it's perhaps looking at different things at different times as we grow and change as individuals. So that's the last two layers of mindfulness. And this is Ben Cow signing off right now. Be real well, TMG. Bye for now.